Good morning, good morning, good morning. So good to see you all today. Thank you, Gay. What a fun jingle song. How cool is that? I hope she talked about how that came about, but I love it. It's based on one of my favorite quotes that I like to say. If you do what you always do and think what you've always thought, you're only going to get what you've always got. And of course, she added the new verse about moving into a new reality and living the life of our dreams. So thank you so much for that. All right. So today we're talking about the dance between our humanity and our divinity, loosely based on my book, Paradox of Awakening, Finding Peace in a World of Chaos. This book is, we have several copies there in the church, so I would love for you to pick one up and take it home and read it and cherish it and treasure it. So, the Paradox of Awakening is really about not only finding peace in a world of chaos, that is one of the paradoxes, but this book is talks about several different paradoxes of awakening. And when we awaken, we discover that what we thought were two mutually exclusive ideas, the paradox, is actually one and the same. One of those paradoxes is the dance between our humanity and our divinity. So, there was an old Hindu legend. At this time of the legend, all people were gods. However, they so abused their divinity that Brahma, the chief god, decided to take it away from them and hide it where it could never be found. So, where to hide the divinity became the question. So, Brahma called a council of the gods to help him decide. Let's bury it deep in the earth, said the gods. No, the humans will dig into the earth and they'll find it. And someone said, let's sink it the deepest spot of the ocean. So now they'll figure out a way to get down into the ocean and find it there too. Let's take it to the top of the mountain. No, they'll eventually climb every mountain and once again take up their divinity. They gave up. I said, we do not know where to hide it because it seems that there's no place on earth or in the sea that human beings will not eventually reach. Brahma thought for a long time and said, here's what we will do. We will hide that divinity deep in the center of their own being, for humans will never think to look for it there. And the gods agreed that this was the perfect hiding place, and the deed was done. And ever since that time, humans have been going up and down the earth, digging and diving and climbing and exploring and searching for something already within themselves. Already deep within the very core of our being. It is the essence of who we are. Our basic principles, our first one, we always talk about the first two, always. There's only one presence and one power active in the universe. We call it God, source, creation, the universe itself. The second one is we all have that divinity within us. We have it right there in our basic principles, and still yet we go looking elsewhere for it. In New Thought in Unity, we also know that it is not only our opportunity to awaken that divinity, but it is our responsibility at this time in the planet. Our planet is in a place where we need to awaken that. We need to step into it, to integrate it, to embody it, to become our divinity within our humanity. Up to us to do it. So when we talk about our humanity divinity, I've talked about this idea before, but we're going to use the same analogy really. Our humanity being the horizontal axis, AXIS, right? And along that horizontal axis is our beginning and our end in our human form. It also has all of our human experience. Excuse me. Our divinity is the vertical axis. the dance between our divinity and our humanity happens in the intersection of the two. It is the intersection of our divinity and our humanity. We're bringing our humanity to that sweet spot of our divinity, gives us access to really the embodiment, the integration of the dance between our humanity and our divinity. So Lowell Fillmore, who was Charles and Myrtle's son, he was the longest on the planet. He was very active at Unity Village. He was obviously raised in these truth principles, and he has a great body of work himself. We don't talk about Lowell too much, but I wanted to bring Lowell in today. So he says that there is the world of man, human. There is the world of human, and there is God's perfect spiritual creation. So we've been talking about the quantum, right? There's the world of man, which is the particle, the relative field, the human experience. And there is a world of God's perfect spiritual creation. So that is, in essence, the wave in our quantum mechanics. It's the absolute. If we look at the work of Emily Cady, who wrote Lessons in Truth, the absolute being all that is, the relative being the human experience. But he says that they are Lowell says that they are two distinct realities. There are two distinct realities. It's as if they're parallel planes, right? And in that sweet spot, that intersection, that dance, we have access to both. He also talks about our state of consciousness. And our state of consciousness is still a part of our humanity. So we can raise our consciousness, we can lower our consciousness can drop deep into, fear and overwhelm and unworthiness, or we can raise it up. But it's still, the consciousness is still a part of our humanity. This is the distinction that Lowell makes. Now, again, he's writing in the 50s and 60s, maybe even 70s. So it's still been a ways back. He said the consciousness changes all the time, but what we know is the kingdom of heaven, as Charles Fillmore put it, is a different reality. Jesus said the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. It's closer than to our hands and feet. It's deeper than the breath we breathe. We do not have to wait until our next lifetime or our death to access this. It's already here. Our consciousness gives us access, right? Our consciousness, when we raise our consciousness out of the density to that which is lighter, then we have a greater access to the kingdom, if you will, to oneness, if you will, to the absolute, to our divinity, but we have access through ideas. What we've done, however, over time, is that we've taken our basic metaphysics, right? Our knowledge of this, our experience of this, and we've taken it out of the idea of two different places of being, two different realms of consciousness, and we've placed it into a container that is really a psychological exploration of our divinity, right? But it's different than that. It's not a psychological exploration. It's an experience of when we come into the dance. So there's a 17th century mystic called Tukaram, and he wrote a little poem called At First He Looked Confused. I want to share it with you. I could not lie anymore, so I started to call my dog God. At first he looked confused, then he started smiling. Then he even danced. Now he doesn't even bite anymore. I wonder if this would work on people too. I wonder if we were to call forth, right, and call people God, whatever word you want to use, right? If we would first get confused, and then we would start smiling, and then we would dance. And pretty soon, it's possible that we wouldn't even be fighting anymore. Think about that. Think about that. That would be the dance, right? So, what is this dance? It's the dance between our human experience. I'm unworthy, I'm not good enough, I'm frustrated, I'm irritated, there's stuff going on in the world. He said and she said, and right and wrong, and hot and cold, and that. That's our human, right? We're not judging it, we're not making it go away. But what we are doing is finding in the midst of that crossover section, that midpoint, that place of the dance. And the dance, the divinity, is our love, our light, our joy, our peace, our kindness, our compassion, our innovation, our creativity, our beauty. It is that expanded place where we know all is well and it is done, where we know that all of our experience on this planet is an opportunity to see our divinity, to experience our divinity. So out of my book, quote from my book, I have to talk about the book, right? It's page 46, 47, in case you want to go buy the book and look for what we're talking about. Hint, hint, seed dropped. This talks about when life gets tough. So it's a paradox. When life gets tough, keep going. When life slows down, quit pushing. So what is it? Keep pushing, stop pushing. Keep pushing, stop pushing. It's the paradox, but we have it confused. The simple answer to this paradox is this. If you are in a denser energy, which means life is hard, right? Whatever the story is, whatever the situation is, doesn't matter. But when life feels harder, and we all have those moments, it can come in times of grief, or health challenges, or relationship changes, or financial opportunities, or whatever it is, right? When life gets harder, if you are in a denser energy, vibration, and emotion, such as overwhelm, fear, or stress, are showing up, quit pushing, right? Paradoxical. Feels counterintuitive. But from a denser energy, this push is only creating more resistance. Instead, quit pushing, take a break, go outside, find a way to raise your vibrations. So now we're talking about that distraction I always like to talk about, right? If it feels hard, like, oh, hard, stop, just stop, take a break. So we have it all backward. This couple paragraphs down. We have it all backward. We tend to push when things aren't going well, but that creates useless and unnecessary suffering. We don't even know how much we push. We don't even realize how it would be to surrender fully to the process. What if you were to take a few moments each time you notice you're pushing and simply back off, back away, turn around, see if there's another way, an easier way. What can you do with yourself to come into a greater flow? Now, the flip side of that paradox is when you are in a flow, keep pushing. When you are in a flow, when your creative juices are flowing and things are going well, then keep going. Don't stop that, right? But it's all about the flow. So in our human experience, if we're feeling resistance, stop. Don't push back away, and come back in, right? If you're in a flow, keep going. So the dance is about softening the places of resistance. It's about softening the rigidity in our minds, in our lives, even in our bodies. It's about letting go of what we don't want and lining up with what we do want. What do you want? But if you're in resistance and you're in resistance, say, looks like some money. It's like, I have no money. I don't know how to pay my bills this month. I'm in resistance. I'm fighting that resistance. So the dance is to take a breath, stop, come back. Oh, wait, what is more true? I'm always taken care of. I have all that I need and more. and line up with it feels so good to have all my bills paid, or to have my extra $10,000 in the bank at the end of the month, or to have my first $1 million, or whatever it is. It doesn't matter, right? But it's like line up with what you do want, not what you don't want. Also, in the Eastern traditions, there's one of the gods is called Ganesh. And Ganesh is the overcomer of obstacles. You often see Ganesh with 8 different arms and, slashing and slaying, and not like Kali, who's like the slasher slayer. But there's a story also in that Hindu tradition that when Ganesh is talking about when there is an obstacle in the road, don't try to force your way through it. Don't push it out of the way. Don't even try to go around it or over it or under it. When there's an obstacle in the road, instead of pushing, stop, become still, and expand your consciousness so that it embraces, so that it enfolds, so that it is bigger than that obstacle. And from that place of expanded consciousness, that obstacle that looks so huge at first becomes a pebble that you can simply walk around. But until you expand your consciousness, you'll fight it. So if you have an obstacle in your road at this moment and you're fighting it, just stop, become still, and lean into the sweet spot, lean into the dance. Now, in my humanity, this is an obstacle. How can I dance with my divinity? You come still, you find the sweet spot by coming still, by sitting. Stillness. Stillness without fighting will create the expanded consciousness that will allow you to come into your divinity, that will allow you then to step over that obstacle. Neil Donald Walsh said this, the holy experience is when you know the difference between your humanity and your divinity, and when that difference disappears. They become one when you enter the holy moment. Know the difference. Divinity seeks to distribute, which is like give. Humanity seeks to gather, which is about get. But when you know the difference between your divinity and your humanity, and you come to know, it's like, oh, things are flowing, I'm good. Oh, things are rocky, it's hard. When you begin to know and you begin to dance with that, you find that sweet spot. The more often you find that sweet spot, that intersection, the humanity and the divinity both disappear. That's the paradox. That's the paradox. And when that happens, you are in a flow. You are in your divinity, fully embodied through your humanity. That's what we're looking for. That's the way. That's the doorway to the kingdom. That's the experience of the kingdom. That's the experience of heaven on earth. So when we dance with what is, we allow it to be. And in that dance, we come to that sweet spot, which allows us to be fully integrated in our own divinity. Let's take a few moments in a time of meditation to experience this. So take a breath in. Close your outer eyes. And imagine that you are dancing with you. Your humanity is dance partners with your divinity. Imagine that horizontal axis called your humanity, and that you move along it all day, every day. And as you get close to that center spot, that intersection, that sweet spot, your dance partner of your divinity shows up. And as the dance of your humanity and divinity happens, as it finesses, as it gets more and more familiar, the two partners become one. You become one. Your divinity, your humanity is simply you. Let that merge, let that dance happen. And as you do so, feel that intersection, that sweet spot expanding, growing, becoming, instead of a sweet spot in the center of your being, find yourself in the very center of this huge sweet spot, one that is expanding 360 degrees above and below, in front, behind, either side. The sweet spot continues to expand as it embraces, as it embodies, as it allows all of our humanity. In this full integration, you know yourself as oneness, not only in yourself, but oneness with all that is. Oneness with the absolute, the infinite possibilities, the unlimited potential. One with the quantum wave. And it's in this sweet spot that you discover heaven on earth, that you can have, you can line up with all that you desire. Feel it expanding. Feel it moving through your body, your mind, your heart, and your soul. Feel the resonance as you line up with this experience, with this truth. So you might feel a physical sensation. You might feel a tingling or a buzzing or a warmth. You might feel your heart opening, maybe even tears in your eyes. And if you do, know that this is truth. Feel it, allow it, become it. Become a willing dance partner. Notice that maybe at first you were confused, and now you're smiling, and now you're dancing. And perhaps you don't even bite anymore. Take a breath in. Place your hands on your heart as you receive, as you allow, as you accept, as you claim this truth for yourself. Another deep breath. When you're ready, open your eyes. And so it is. And so we let it be. The dance between humanity and divinity. One of the great paradoxes of awakening. God bless you. See you soon.